All right, the Airport and Industrial Park Advisory Commission is called to order. I'd like to remind everybody that if you speak, turn your mic on and speak into the mic so it's nice and clear. That's the only way it'll go out over the air. We are being transmitted on Channel 4 as well as live on YouTube. So with that, I would ask Janie for roll call. Here. Here.
Tim Gerlach. Henry Gutierrez. Here. James Larimore.
Here.
John Stutzman. Have a quorum.
All right, we do have a quorum. If everyone would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. Everybody should have received a copy of last month's minutes in your packet. And once we're ready, I'll entertain a motion for approval of such minutes, and then we'll discuss any changes. All right, we have a motion by Mr. Gaines to approve the minutes. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Gutierrez. All right, we'll have a little discussion. I find at least one word that I need changed. Does anybody else have any changes, additions, or deletions? All right, seeing none. Janie, if you'll look under item 4, old business, rates and fees, 7 paragraphs down, just before the vote of ayes. The third line says, believe we are not ready to make a well-informed decision. That word decision, I would like changed to recommendation, so that we make a well-informed recommendation to the council. Any other changes, additions, or deletions? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of accepting the minutes as corrected, say aye, and raise your right hand if you're on Zoom. Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the minutes are accepted with a unanimous vote. All right, this is a hybrid meeting. That means we have some folks in chambers and we have others on Zoom. This meeting is being broadcast on Channel 4, local access, also on YouTube. Janie, have we had any call-ins?
No, we did not.
All right. And did the office receive any written comments?
No, we did not.
All right. Then we'll go on to reports. Number 3, we'll begin with Industrial Park Staff Report. Bennett, there you are. You're going to have to speak way. Oh, wait a minute. Let us do one thing here. Oh, maybe.
Can you hear me now?
Is that mic turned on, Scott?
Yeah, it's on.
Try it now, Bennett.
Okay. So I say, good afternoon, Chairman and Commissioners. Thank you for, taking the time today to come out and wanted to give you an update on the industrial park. I'll do a little bit of an update on the 1,800 acre, what we are calling the land obligation release. Our environmental assessment has been completed and submitted to the FAA per our schedule. We anticipate comments back from the FAA the first week of July. And as that process continues through, just as kind of a final, we are working towards completing the whole NEPA process by the end of the year or sooner. So, very excited about that process moving forward. Haven't had any issues as of yet. A little bit about rail. In February of 2021, I probably had these numbers before, but I really want to show you the numbers. Our cars that were stored up out of the industrial park were 102. In March, we're at 930 cars. In April, we're at 800. So quite a substantial increase through March and April. And we did see some more increase on cars that were switched with our businesses. In February, we did 149 cars. In March, we did 204. And it dropped a little bit in April down to 173. In regards to the maintenance that's taking place on Mojave Airport Drive and coming into the park, we've seen a lot of compliments from businesses. The group that we've hired to maintain and take care of that has been doing a really good job. All those tumbleweeds basically been non-existent coming into the park, and so we're very pleased with that maintenance so far. Talk about a land sale. We've got a land sale that's placed on the council agenda for June 1st for approval. We did have this on the council agenda this last month, but we had to have them look at a few items. Which we did, so we replaced that on the agenda. And this sale will result in an estimated net proceeds to the airport land sales fund of $118,650. We've been extensively working on improving broadband. continue to work with new businesses, looking at the industrial park, looking to expand into the southwest markets. We've cemented multiple parcels out here, up to 30 to 10 to 30 acre parcels for different projects. We are on what's called a short list on a few of those, still going through the process, but we'll continue to give them any information that they need in regards to making their decision to potentially locate. So with that, that's my update. If there are any questions.
Well, I'm not sure if we had good enough audio to hear everything you said. However, I will ask, does any of the commissioners have any questions regarding the industrial park portion of the airport? Go ahead, Mr. Gaines.
One of the questions that does get brought up. We have a fiber capability. Industries have to pay to put it in, so that growth.
Okay. Well, I'm so glad that you're working on that. I hope that we can. I know the state is, as you mentioned before, is maybe backing this up too. We could really use it up here, obviously.
Absolutely. That's one of our top priorities. Broadband.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Gaines, good question. Any other questions for Mr. Bennett? All right, seeing none, we're going to move on to airport staff. And before we do, we're fortunate to have with us today our newest airport manager, Doug Breckenridge. We're very fortunate to have Doug with us from his extreme background in aviation, and we think he's going to be a great addition for the airport side of our air park. So with that, welcome.
Thank you, Chair Burrows, Commissioners. I do appreciate it. However, right now our IT is requesting possibly a 5-minute break for them to resolve the voice issue over Zoom. So if you would not mind, may we please take a 5-minute break?
We'll be glad to do that. So we will be on an approximate 5-minute break until IT gives us the thumbs up.
Thank you, Chair.
I'm glad to see you in person.
That's not bad.
You done good.
Our accountant did. I don't know what kind of miracles he worked.
Who's your accountant? I may be going over there. Fuller. First name.
I kept on thinking Jason Bull from the TV show. On Monday nights, there's a TV show. It's a lawyer show. Yes. Yeah, it's called Bull.
Oh, yeah, I think I know that, yeah.
It has Tony.
Yes, yes.
Good.
I cannot complain. No, I can't.
That.
Audio test. Audio test.
Wait a minute. Don't. Will you be careful? I know. Be careful. Travel.
Audio test. Can I have the people on Zoom talk for a moment?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
I can. Can the people in the council chambers hear everyone? And if you could
All right,
unmute so
the
that-
audio is much better.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. I apologize for the issues, and you guys can resume as soon as you like.
Paul, could you give us an audio check?
Yes, audio check.
Oh, sounds great. Okay. All right, we're resuming this meeting, and we had, before our break, we had called up our airport manager and welcomed him to the airport. So, sir, take it away.
Manager. I'm also planning on, or grateful to collaborate with you guys in further developing the airport and working through the community to better improve life for not only our flying public, but the citizens as a whole. First part of airport activities, airport business development, preparing an RFP for 2 vacant parcels. We have 2 vacant parcels, one right next to Arizona, another section right next to Straube. That is opened up. We have 2 parties of interest that are looking at leasing those locations. So we are developing a RFP, request for proposal, for those individuals and possibly other parties that will be interested in bidding or forth proposals for development of those properties. Staffing and selection process. We are currently looking at hiring a supervisor for ops/maintenance for the airport. That individual will be in charge of the airport operations and maintenance specialist. We are going through the process of working with HR and getting that posted as soon as possible. With that, hopefully the council will approve this budget coming up. We will have a possible another position that opens up, airport operations maintenance specialist, that we're planning, if this is approved, for filling in July. This will greatly increase our coverage. For the next section, staff scheduling and coverage. With all these additional staff members, what we're planning to do is cover the weekends. This will hopefully better improve our customer service relations with the tenants on the airfield, also greatly increase our response time and provide full weekly coverage.
Question, Doug. Will the staff person on the weekend have assignments to do on the airport, things like that? Or will they be mainly there for security, or if some gate gets stuck open, things like that? What would be their function?
Commissioner Ansberger, Vice Chair Ansberger, yes, they will be not only there for security and monitoring the airfield, but they also will be given assigned duties. This could be just spraying weeds. This could be operating our FOD boss. This could also be addressing other issues that pop up throughout the weekend. Instead of sitting back and postponing it all the way to Monday, Saturday, we could hopefully get it addressed as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome, sir. So with that and the expansion of the staff schedule, what we're also looking at doing is expanding our security to a 2-year pilot program. What we're looking at doing is having security staff there when the operations staff leave throughout the day. These people will be patrolling the airfield and surrounding areas of concerns to make sure that we do not have any individuals that should not be on the airfield in the middle of the night, hopefully mitigate against that. They will be there starting, what we're looking at scheduling is them coming in as soon as your airport operations staff leaves throughout the day. They stay there throughout the night. Then when staff comes in the morning, then they'll leave. This will hope very much improve our security posture at the airport.
What do you expect the expense of that to be for the security?
I have to go back and actually take a look at that, but we did look at or speak to our current security company that we're contracting out with. Of course, if this breaks a certain amount, we're going to have to go out for a bid process or request for proposal process, but they're looking at maybe $17 to $18 an hour. That is the estimate right now. It could change. But I will have to get back with you on the exact estimated cost annually.
Thank you.
So airport projects and maintenance, taxiway Bravo project, design nearly complete. Phase 1 project bidding expected this July or August. This fencing project, the fence project that popped up that opened up 35 acres on the airfield for aircraft storage, has been completed. The total project expenditure was $80,000. $80,000 with $69K, of which was provided through a grant offset. So we were only looking at paying out of pocket expenses around $11,000. For terminal painting and landscaping, painting and landside landscaping has been complete. If you go out there and you probably take a look at the terminal, you'd notice the paint around the terminal. Landscaping on the front side has improved. We're looking right now at new signs and rejuvenating the grass on the back end of the terminal. And what we're looking at is maybe turning on the sprinkler system on the backside, which would possibly a little bit extra grass and making that look a little bit more pleasant from the air side. FAA and ADOT coordination. FAA and ADOT grant status. CRISA grant, we received $13K for the COVID response costs. Application and wait, awaiting for award. The next one's going to be the FAA drainage study, updated FAA drainage study update grant. Awaiting final award from the FAA, hopefully approved by city council members in June. ADOT Taxiway Bravo project design is 90% complete. Have phase 1, construction grant in hand. Phase 2 is expected in federal fiscal year of 22, but this could be delayed. We are going to be meeting with ADOT and ADO coming up here on the 20th this month to further discuss this and look at options to hopefully get both these projects, or get this project lined up with phase 2 and phase 1 working right next to each other. ADOT runway match grant. Right now, we're still waiting to hear back to find out if we could get this 100% funded through federal and state entities, or actually state entities. We are still waiting, so we're kind of holding off on closing out that grant application. PAPI replacement. ADOT grant expected for fiscal year 22. Could be reduced, but we're delaying. That's one of the areas that we are going to be discussing with them on the 20th to look at options on either getting this, other options of getting this fully funded or breaking it down into phases. Equipment, we did have the FOD boss arrive. It is working, and I do have a picture to show you. Let's see here. I know this does not seem like much compared to the difference in color, but if you notice the black sections, that was just on the southern section of Delta. The guys over the past week have been going up and down Delta, picking up loose gravel, rocks, other pieces of FOD, and they've been going just past the safety area of the taxiway and dumping this loosened gravel. So this item has greatly increased our ability to clean up the runways and taxiways of FOD.
Mr. Breckenridge, what happens if the FOD boss picks up metal debris? Is it dumped with that?
Yes, sir. It picks up everything. It can pick up anything as small as a grain of sand or even glass beads. And it puts them all items. It does not separate them into one catch area. And when you take that FOD boss off the runway or taxiway, then you dump it off in the grass or designated storage areas.
So is that something that needs to be looked at from time to time to look for nails or things like that?
Well, what we're looking at doing is have discussion with staff. We are possibly looking at designated offload locations, just to hopefully prevent those items from finding their way back onto the runways or taxiways. That's why we push this pretty heavily of any type of dumping at this current time needs to be outside of a taxiway or a runway safety area to prevent those items from making its way back onto the movement surfaces.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
I also have a question about the FOD boss, the manager of Breckenridge.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
So is there going to be a regular schedule? I know it's people will sometimes just put off or until something needs it, but is there going to be a regular scheduled activity for the FOD boss, like on certain days of the month to drive around certain areas and schedule that out? Or is it just going to be on an as-needed basis, do you know?
Commissioner Gaines, they will look at an as-needed basis if we see an issue that pops up, but what we are going to do is start looking at breaking down the airfield into separate locations, so throughout the week, the airfield will be covered by the FOD boss. Maybe look at Delta one weekend, look at Alpha another weekend, look at a runway another weekend, so in a month period of time, we'll pretty much cover the entire airfield.
Yeah, there are certain, you'll probably notice this as you're driving around more and more. There are definitely hot spots, areas that get kind of ground up and messed up more easily than others. And those areas probably would be addressed on a more regular basis than the average. But the other comment I have also is like other aircraft operating areas, like in front of in between all the T hangars that are around. I've noticed, little bits of gravel that have been collecting for a long time in those areas. So is this an appropriate piece of equipment to run around the hangars and stuff too?
Yes, sir, it is. This equipment is
Okay.
great for any piece of pavement on the airfield.
Okay.
I have used this equipment at other airports, mainly around airline ramps, and it has done a fantastic job in picking up things as small as a zipper. It is
Nice.
a great improvement.
Okay.
I've used it much more and extensively over a vacuum truck because it does a much more thorough job.
And you can use practically any piece of equipment that has a tow hitch on it, it sounds like.
Yes, sir. Trucks, well, we're going to be using on the back of our trucks, but other airports, they will use basically a tug to actually pull this behind it.
Okay.
So any piece of equipment can be used as long as it's able to go over 25 miles per hour.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I was over on the executive row, and there's quite a bit of debris. So maybe they could run the FOD boss in that area around the A, B, and C hangars as well as the D hangars, because there's multiple stones mainly on the taxiway, and that'll wreak havoc on a prop, as we all know.
Yes, Commissioner, we are aware of that. We will be developing a plan on dividing out those areas and getting predominantly, or the focus on is the higher path of travels, including run-up spots, addressed as soon as we possibly can. We are very much aware, or I am very much aware of what the damage to smaller stones can do to a prop aircraft.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome, sir. For the draw site update, engineers, they completed the final draft of the project work plan and has submitted it to DOJ for approval. Airport staff has reviewed those plans and have put in our questions and concerns and comments regarding this plan. They have been addressed, and this will be forwarded over to DOJ as soon as possible. For the FAA land release project, draft EA or environmental assessment chapters have been submitted to the FAA. Several months with review and approvals remain. This is going to be a little project. We are aware this is high on everybody's list, and we're going to try to push this forward and get it done as soon as we possibly can. Hangar occupancy and wait list. The Executive A hangars, we have 5 total hangars, 5 are occupied, and we have 4 in wait to get in those hangars. B and C T hangars, We have 30 hangars, 30 are occupied. We have Ford with 2 requesting relocations to separate hangars within the facility. For D hangars, we have 10 available, 10 are occupied, 0 are currently on the wait list. For the cover tie downs, we have available 10 occupied, 10 are occupied, 9 are on the wait list. We're hoping that in the future we'll be able to purchase additional covered hangars for the individuals that are waiting. We're kind of shooting to possibly get at least 90% of that full after the new hangars are built, or new covered areas. Does anybody have any questions so far? Okay, division budget report. 83% of the fiscal year 21 complete through 30th of April 2021. Revenue and expenses division budget overall. Revenues, we're looking at $1,205,494. Expenses are sitting at $1,333,748.98. That puts us at 73% of the budget spent. Right now, we're 3/4 of the way through the year, and we are tracking to be a little bit under the budget.
Excuse me, you said 1,333,000, or is that 1,033,000?
1,033,000, sir.
Thank you.
For the revenue expenses, airport versus industrial park, the airport revenue is $1,027,588, whereas the industrial park is $177,907 for a total revenue of $1,205,494. The actual expenses is for the airport is $972,579.68, and the industrial park is $61,169.30. For the actual fuel flow report year to date for February is 123,532.6 gallons. We are working with the FBO to get the past 2 months fuel flow fees, and as soon as we get that, we'll have them in the very next commission meeting. The airport budget process for the fiscal year 22, all capital improvement program and operating budget requests submitted for the fiscal year 22. It appears that all airport requests will be sent to the City Council for approval. The final budget approval is expected in June for the fiscal year 22. Does anybody have any questions at this time?
All right, Mr. Breckenridge, a very thorough report. Thank you very much. We appreciate you sending that out with the packet or thereabouts, so we had a chance to review it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson.
All right. Our next matter is old business, and before we open 4A, aircraft storage and rates, I need to take a poll of all commission members and ask a simple question. Are you currently involved with any airport use whereas you pay a fee of any sort? I'll start it off by saying yes, I do have a conflict because I rent space at the airport. Commissioner Amspoker.
Yes, I rent space in the shade, so I have a conflict.
All right. Commissioner Gaines.
I have a long-term land lease. I don't know if that's a direct conflict for this conversation, but we do pay an annual fee.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Gerlach.
Yes, I rent a hangar from the airport.
All right. Commissioner Gutierrez. No, sir, I don't. No conflict for Commissioner Gutierrez. Commissioner Lormer. No conflict. And Commissioner Stutzman. You need to unmute Commissioner Stutzman.
Yes, I do rent a T hangar at the airport.
All right. Thank you very much. So we have a 5 out of 7 with a conflict. With that in mind, I'm going to invoke a special exception to the rule of conflict of interest, and that is whenever a body such as this would fail to continue to have a quorum, we can publicly admit our conflict and move forward with the discussion. Yes, Jane? I did. I was the first one.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
And that's okay. Thank you for keeping us on track. So yes, 5 out of 7. So with that, the special rule is invoked, and we will continue with our aircraft storage rates and fees. And do we have a presentation? Okay, Prior Commissioner Scott Brackett. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commission. I'm just going to give a little PowerPoint on, we've had a study commissioned at Kingman that we paid for and we reviewed a few months ago. There's also a study that was done by Pinal Air Park. So I'm going to use both of them kind of, and several commissioners also got involved and got rates. So it's 3 different inputs, and you'll see that on my PowerPoint here. Only got one port. Yeah, let's just shut the. Yeah, there we go. How do I fit it to? Let me fit it to screen. Is that full screen? Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, it's going to be a fairly quick rundown. It's rates and reviews of Kingman. And what I did is, Kingman's going to be changing in the future. This is kind of to address that we are on the cusp of change. This is for the commission, and we want you to use sound judgment and technical matter, and so this is a fill-in for that. The data I used, Aeroplex did the review, evaluation of Kingman. Dribble did down at Marana area. I threw in a picture of a Rocky Mount, North Carolina article, And then for economics, I just grabbed some US census data, and it's straight off, not changed at all. Anyone can get it, so it's just gives a apples to apples comparison, so you know where we're at it. And then commission members also helped on this. The chart you're looking at here actually has dollar amounts on the left. 21 cents a square foot was just thrown in there as a relative value, so you can kind of see square foot to dollar amounts. The evaluation that we had of the air park looked different. It didn't include some of the smaller airports, and they were mostly metropolitan. And that skews, when I show the economic data, how you can just look at it in the gross view. So this shows Buckeye, Bullhead, Chandler, Kingman, and you can see Winslow, Safford, and the Rocky Mount one was a brand new set of hangars, August of 2020. They had epoxied floors, Wi-Fi, brand new bifolds, everything, $300 a month with new construction. And we know that steel and concrete and all that has gone up considerably from when most of these were completed. So this one is a shade hanger. There's data on that too, and it shows the difference in the shades. Not all the shades are exactly the same configuration. Again, you're going a little bit, hangers vary a little bit square foot, but basically the same. So this just gives you a snapshot of a lot of places don't have shades. So this gives you the ones I gathered. So it shows you kind of where we're at and what we're dealing with. This is commercial parking. And it shows, this is really wide open. This is mainly for the aircraft tied down, such as Jet Yard and Cassie, that we're looking at. And the data out there is really all over the map. And this is just a view to show you that it is all over the map. I'm not making a recommendation on this because it is so varied and so different. This is the economic data that I grabbed off the internet and just cut and pasted it. What I really wanted to show you is Maricopa County, 64,000 right there. Winslow, they had the low rate, 37,000. Who's next to Winslow? We're moving up the chart. 49 is Kingman. Coolidge, and it runs up the whole thing. So the most affluent communities should have the highest rates if you're looking at it from that. This is just to show you that it is a factor, and it does somewhat correlate to the way the prices are of the hangars and that on their airports. So it's just to give you an idea. Reality is economics do influence the hangars and shades for our GA has data. We can get data, and it's comparable type data. The larger stored aircraft on either asphalt pavement or off pavement, it varies all over the map. I wouldn't do it justice. That would take a very hard look to come up with valid data. Kingman Airport, we want to stay within our budgeting outlook, and so that's part of this too. It was point I recommend is a holistic approach. Right now, go ahead, Dave. You have a question?
Yeah, Scott. Couple things I'm looking at here. Looks like Sholo has a lower income by about $3,000 in Kingman. Is that correct? On your
Sholo?
yes. You're showing it at $46,310 in Kingman City at $49,026.
That's what the economic data showed.
Okay. And the aircraft storage that's all over the chart, clearly Benson and Marana are in that business primarily. And they don't really have much GA business, do they?
Marana, if it's Marana, it does. Pinell County does not.
Okay.
There's a differentiation. And Benson has GA. They have GA flying in and out.
And we are currently staying within our budget so that the airport is not deriving any income out of the city general fund. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. The airport was offset outside the city budget.
Thank you.
So here is the recommendations I'm throwing out for you to look at, and this is mainly for Ken to take back and relay to the city council. New hangars, I've got it at, again, a square foot price, because it makes it easier. We had talked about it before, but so you can correlate. So these are realignments down. So we should be reducing our price. Now, shades, I said we should go up. Part of that is we have a huge backlog, and hopefully we can, the amount of money we're going to gain isn't that much, but it's the step that we can take that's fairly easy. Tie downs, 25 right now, that didn't make sense to raise it. We've got so many extra out there that fuel. That's the one I left, but that's the easy pickings. You want to raise it a penny or so. The prices range from 0 to 33 cents at Fox Field in California. Again, California, they charge 70 cents for the road stuff. So I left it at 4, but that could be rearranged to give a value fairly easily, because it's a one easy. So I left it at what it was, and that can be, again, talked about. All large storage, I said, remain the same, because I don't have enough data to give you an answer that I would feel comfortable even uttering. It is very difficult and secretive on some of the rates they run. What I suggest is to do this and then review it after a 12-month period and watch CPI. We could be, I mean, everything you hear says we're going to get inflation. We may or may not, but I say after one, and thereafter I just say a 3-year adjustment on it. So, but looking at it 1 year, you should be able to judge where we're at and which way we want to head. And with that, I'll just leave it up to questions from anyone. Pat, you can chime in if you needed. Go ahead, Ken.
Is your mic on?
Can you email that to me?
Oh, yes, no problem.
It's not, I don't think it's online.
Okay.
Oh, there it is.
But I'll also try and give you the background data if you'd like, the background data, so you can kind of see what I did.
On the shades, I know I had a plane for a while and I had to park in the shade. Fortunate enough to get a space. But that rate at 75 is what it's currently at right now.
I'm sorry, let me talk into this. Thank you. It's been at 75 for how long?
Ooh, quite a while. Dave?
I've been in there for 10 years.
Okay. I mean, I'm not trying to throw stones, but I mean, the 85, if we were to do, like base it to the CPI index, that maybe $100 increase, up to $100 might be a little more realistic, because it's been at that 75 for so long.
Well, there's been no maintenance done. They put up a
True, but there's not really much needed on those
It's
either.
paid off, and that's part of drawing people in and being able to use it and putting up a second set.
Sure.
At 100 now, you're probably going to get that 9 to drop, and all of a sudden everything changes. And that's it. Really, the goal is to have amenities for the users. When you really look at large aircraft storage and prices and all that, they're fairly reasonable in general.
Yes.
So there should be a correlation on which way we want to head. Again, it's the aiming of the airport to go, and we're just making money at the 85 because there's shade is probably by far the best investment because
Yes,
there's
I
nothing
agree.
to go wrong on those things.
Yeah, unfortunately, right now, to put new ones up, it would be very, very expensive, as you well know, you mentioned already, because steel prices and concrete are just through the roof.
We were quoting 120% on some steel
Yes,
going up.
and
So
more,
it's, and
and more.
concrete, yeah, so it's right now cost prohibitive.
Okay, well, thank you.
I have a question, Mr. Brackett.
Yes,
So I think one of the reasons our prices, I think they are a little bit high in the all the hangars, and that from what I understand, it's been because it's been a 3% increase compounded, I believe, every year for how long?
it was just shy of 20 years, 17, 18 years. Yes,
Right.
after 10, you're doubling.
Right, it's the 3% on top of 3% on top of 3%. You know, it's not just 3% added to the original
Correct.
amount, shall we
Correct.
say? So I think that's one reason why we're kind of out of whack. And I know there's a lot of argument that states, well, they're all full. There's a wait list. It doesn't make any economic sense, you know, and if that's the argument, why not just charge more? And I don't buy that. There is no competition here. And part of the reason for this airport to exist that the FAA says is to promote and foster aviation. And I think it's only fair that we have some kind of a cost adjustment based on the average airport or the average situation here in the state. I don't rent a hangar. I own what I have out here, but I have a long-term dirt lease. But some of the numbers just do seem to be a little bit higher. And again, I think it's because of the way that the former entity that was here was increasing the price every single year, regardless of the economy or usage.
That's true. It's all background that I didn't include, again, with the amenities in the airport and all that. A lot of us have background in this.
And I also think that, yeah, it's pretty obvious we need more shades, and that is a problem. We have huge cost increases right now that we've seen. So what do? We know we can fill up. It probably wouldn't take that long to fill up more additional shades if they're properly priced. And then and we do know in the long run they do pay for themselves. And there are other services out there that the city provides, let's say parks or places like that, which is a little bit different. I understand it's a different situation, but the airport is independent, and in the long run it stays that way, and we're able to generate our own income, and we do know there is a need for shades. And I think we do have to look at this pretty hard, and I think they've been a little bit high for a while. And again, the normal supply and demand thing just doesn't really work, and it's not really, I don't think, fair to charge what we can get. And if there's a waiting list that shows to some, you know, all the classic supply and demand curve would show that, well, we can raise the price then because there's a waiting list. And that's just not the way that it should be.
Not said by me is there's a ton of background information that address exactly what you're talking about, not the 3%, but the background information on how airports work, how that begins. And I assume that with this venue and crowd, going to the mayor and that may be a little different story when they get to council. So that may have to be explained or put a little data sheet out explaining where we're at versus what. But I wanted to give you what it looks like from the airport side.
Thank you.
Jim, do you have any questions? You know, you're yes. So do you have copies of these?
Commissioner Lorimer, could you turn your mic on, please?
Yeah, so,
You do?
no, I do not have.
Okay, so that'll explain a lot more too, and so I'll make sure you get them in that, and so, yes.
All right, Mr. Brackett, very good presentation. Thank you for taking your time and effort to put this together. It really shows what we've been trying to present to the council, that because of historical reasons, The prices got up as high as they are, and because of our social economic area, we probably shouldn't be at or near the top, but at least hopefully somewhere in the median. And that's our biggest message. So hopefully Vice Mayor Watkins can take the message to the council and let them know that we have a beautiful facility in our airport. We have a ton of opportunity there. We just don't want to pile too much of the burden on the GA aircraft owners. So with that, did you have any more, Mr. Brackett?
No,
All right.
that's
I
it.
think Commissioner Amspoker had something to add.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. It's interesting that we did a study, John Stutzman and I, back in, I think it was 2019, and we found that the average was 20 cents square foot, and I realize that square footage of a hangar is not maybe the most important factor, because you're renting a hangar, and if it's 1,010 square feet versus 1,050 square feet, you still want to put your airplane in it. And so maybe the square footage wasn't quite the most desirable way to do it, but it seemed like it was fair at the time. I don't have a problem with raising the price of the shade. However, if we're going to raise it, we need to have some additional amenities. It's dark as night when you land at night and you're trying to tie down your airplane and you're walking around with a flashlight in your mouth because you need both hands free. If we had lighting, if we had maybe a locker like we originally presented in last year's budget request to the city council, that would be beneficial too. Someplace, and it doesn't have to be a large locker, just somewhere where you could keep some extra oil, a rag or two, maybe some cleaner to clean your windscreen off. Things like that aren't expensive, but they're very valuable. If you go to your packet, you can see that we surveyed, I think it's like 14 different airports all over the state of Arizona. Some were in Phoenix, some were basically all over the state of Arizona. And Kingman was second only to Flagstaff. And Flagstaff has snow removal to deal with. They have a much higher income base, as Mr. Brackett pointed out. Clearly, we're at the high end. And if we want to promote aviation, doing it with higher prices is not the way to go about it. It's expensive enough as it is, and this is a way that we can maybe promote general aviation in Kingman by making the prices a little more reasonable. And in reality, we don't need the money. We're making about an extra $100,000 a year. So, and I'm sure if we gave a break to the pilots that are in the hangars, and at some point in time we needed to raise it because we lost the large aircraft rental, I'm reasonably certain the pilots would say, hey, we understand. So I'm hoping that we can adopt the recommendation that Mr. Brackett proposed. And I'll get off my soapbox now and let somebody else talk.
All right. Any other comments regarding rates and fees?
Yeah, maybe I can say something.
Okay, Commissioner Gutierrez?
Yeah. I agree with you, Dave, by the way. Yeah, I've been in aviation since 1985. I've had a license since 1985. I've been in aviation a long time. And my experiences in the different airports that I've been at have all been based on what the airport has to offer general aviation in itself as to how you price fuel, amenities, hangar fees, maintenance costs, and all that. We've always dealt with it because I've helped raise airports, Eagle Airfield for openers. And it always has been based on what the airport itself has to offer general aviation. Now, if you have a big airport and it's no amenity, there's nothing going on, and you're charging big prices for what little you do have and offer, it's not going to do well, and you're not going to get much traffic. You're not going to get much general aviation people or commercial airliners or anything. Back in the 80s, Kingman was a thriving airport. It was great. And I used to love coming here every day. I used to be here. I remember Bob Brackett when he invested in building the old hangars, the original hangars. It was a great place. The Kingman Aero Club, we used to have fly-ins all the time, breakfasts, swap meets, on and on and on. I mean, this was a thriving airport. And then so you charge your fees accordingly. You don't just go out and say, well, I think that this hangar here is worth $500 a month because, well, yes, if you can get it, but it's not practical, it's not honest, it's not good, it's bad business, really, in my opinion. And like I say, I've owned a lot of airplanes, and I've built an RV-4, and I've had my foot in the rudder pedals for a long time, if you will. And I think that $350 a month for a T-hanger in an airport that doesn't offer very much, but high prices, is way too much money for the airport, for the hangar.
All right, Commissioner, thank you. Any other comments or discussion?
Yes, I'd like to comment on it.
All right, Commissioner Gerlach?
Yeah, I've kind of struggled with this a little bit in that I don't want to see rates raised at Kingman Airport, but to the contrary, I think there should be services that go with the prices. So, and I bring up what are known as the bracket hangars or the D hangars. They're in fairly poor condition. The floors are asphalt, which I believe the hangars were just built on the ramp. And they have a light bulb hanging from the ceiling, that sort of thing. And to think that, one, they want to charge what they charge now, and then want to look at possibly increasing that without doing anything for the tenants is a real problem that I have. You know, I do rent one of the T hangars. I pay the bill, and it is what it is. But I just think there should be more maintenance, more services for the tenants there, even if the prices stay the same. You know, I can't argue if somebody wanted to lower the bill, that's fine too. But I think we need to increase the services for the tenants out there. The same with the shade hangers as well. That, you know, I'm sure they wouldn't mind paying a little more, but they want something in return. And I think that's something that should be looked at.
All right, Commissioner Gerlach, thank you. Any other discussion? All right, Commissioners, we need to forward a recommendation to the City Council. And with that, I'd like to entertain a motion as to what the Commission believes our recommendation should be.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the proposal that was presented by Mr. Brackett and the proposal that the Commission did previously in 2019, and recommend that the City Council adopt the rates in Mr. Brackett's presentation.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
There's a second by Commissioner Lormer. And the motion is essentially to forward as a recommendation to the city council, those recommendations forwarded or presented today by Mr. Brackett and his study, along with the data that was included in today's packet. Is there any further discussion on this recommendation?
And this will be, excuse me, Commissioner Burrows, this will be to review it again after 12 months to see where we stand. I think, and again, just to reiterate what I was saying, I know that since there's a waiting list, people often simplify this by saying, well, then the prices are okay if people are waiting. But I agree, as commissioners, we've all been in aviation for a long time. We've seen trends. We know what other hangar spaces are. And it's kind of a different world of, because there is no, neighboring airport, across 66 that you can compete against and compete services. It's not the same. So I will be voting for this, but I think it's worthy having another discussion to show the council that we are serious about keeping tabs on it and can have further justification for whatever actions would be necessary in a year from now as well.
All right, Commissioner Gaines, I certainly agree with you, and that discussion would take place close to a year from any adjustments made to see if we're still in the place we should be. And like Commissioner Amspoker said, if things change at the airport and we find we're way too low, we can make that adjustment. But, and this chair realizes that it's very difficult for a city to give up a fee that they've established. We understand that. I'm sympathetic to that. But on the other hand, as I mentioned before, it's very difficult to put so much burden on the general aircraft folks that we have there. Now, having said that, we have a waiting list of 4 plus 2 for the T hangars. What if we had a waiting list of a dozen? Well, that tells us we need to build some more hangars and generate some more revenue for the city. But if we're the highest in the state, or one of the highest, that waiting list isn't going to build real quick. I realize that we're somewhat remote, that somebody in Tucson is not going to want to hangar their airplane at our airport and commute that to come and fly, but we're certainly within distance from 3 good-sized cities in Arizona, plus a really big city across the river. So we would get higher interest. So any more discussion on the motion before us of the recommendation?
I have another additional comment. I'm sorry, Commissioner Burrows. So I think at some point too, we should look at the long-term storage of the jets out here as well. I don't know. Again, Scott said they were all over the map. Are we competitive, or are we in line with the other areas? And this would be, there are hundreds of jets out here and possibly more. And we want to make sure we're competitive, but are we getting enough? If you adjust it $50 a jet per month for a multi-million-dollar jet, is that going to really bother them that much? Are they going to be okay with these prices? And we could, it could be a source of revenue that could be looked at and make a difference.
Mr. Brackett?
Here's the problem. There are some that don't charge anything, but you've got the amenities of a Cassie that has a regular 145 repair station because they're leasing a big hangar that's available that we don't have. The situation is all over the map. You can't just say apples to apples, and it becomes extremely difficult when you look at Roswell to us, to Mojave, to Pinal County down there. It's extremely difficult to come up with apples to apples, and I just, in the time I had, I couldn't do it.
Additionally,
Charging more at this time without really studying it, I think would be the wrong move.
No, it needs to be studied, I would say, for sure.
Okay.
And justified.
All right, we can certainly look into that, Commissioner Gaines. Commissioner Gerlach, did you have something?
Yes, I was going to say, there may be, at least for the existing tenants, there may be contracted rates as well. And I don't know if the airport manager can answer that.
I apologize. Can you make that statement again, sir?
I'm questioning the airline storage rates, if the existing tenants have contracted rates or not.
I cannot say specifically do that for the airline storage rates.
Let go of your button, make it green. There you go.
I do apologize. I cannot say if, I believe it's set annually. I'm not 100% sure. I can get back with you on that. But I did want to make another statement regarding the hangar space.
Okay.
Hangar space, Mr. Chair, is that we are not looking at raising it this year. We're actually looking at keeping them the same. And what we're looking at doing is allowing the other facilities to actually play and catch up to us. In the meantime, those additional revenues will allow us to increase our maintenance in the future with these hangars and possibly make future and better improvements while the rest of the state catches up with the square footage.
All right, I would say at a minimum, that would be awesome if we could at least freeze the rates, but we would certainly like the city council to have an opportunity to look at our data and understand how overpriced it apparently seems to be. So I think with our proposal, providing it passes, being forwarded to council, they can look at the data, and if they just cannot find it in their hearts to make a reasonable adjustment, then at least perhaps follow what you said is on the table of freezing things until such case we get caught up. Any further discussion before we call for the question?
Yes. I think there are airports such as Deer Valley. It's subsidized by Sky Harbor because they don't want general aviation anywhere close to Sky Harbor, and that's understandable. But the hangars at Deer Valley have insulation so that they're not bake ovens in the summertime. The shade needs lighting. The shade could use some lockers. I honestly believe that the floors in the D row of hangars are shot. And to be charging almost $300 a month for that hangar, those 10 hangars in the D row, is a travesty. And I understand that the city doesn't make a habit of lowering the fees on anything, and that that's not something that government does willingly, but the airport is not costing the city a cent, and the city has other services that they provide to the community that lose money every year, every single year. Parks and Recreation is one of them. Fire service, I don't think they make money on fire service, but it's needed. The airport is needed, and the airport contributes a great deal of revenue and income to the community of Kingman.
Okay, thank you. And just one last, yes, sir, Commissioner Lorimer.
Just, looking at all this data and understanding there's this 3% artificial increase.
It's on, he's good.
So the hangar rates are artificially high right now because of a structure that was put in before this. So that should be taken account for. Freezing it right now to stop that, I absolutely agree that needs to happen. And then figure out where to go from there.
Okay.
But that's my comment.
And just one last quick comment. the city didn't set these high rates. They inherited them. So they need to understand that. All right. If there's no further discussion, we'll call for the question. All those in favor of the motion to present the city council with our recommendations as presented by Mr. Brackett, say aye.
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 All right. Any opposed? Any abstained? All right, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Mr. Brackett. Thank you very much for your time and effort in this. All right. APAC duties and responsibilities. This is held over from last meeting and is for possible discussion.
Chairman
Mr.
Burrows,
Breckenridge,
I'd
do you have anything on this? This was in our packet.
No, sir, this is for the commission to determine if they wish to pass this and develop subcommittees in the future, and for the commission to make a determination of who would want to be in these subcommittees.
Yes, this this item titled Commission Municipal Airport and Industrial Park Advisory Commission, Commission Responsibilities and Structures. We had discussion about this last month, and it was coming back to us with some very minor corrections, and we did approve it as long as those corrections were made. And I see that to the best of my knowledge, the corrections had been made. So as Mr. Breckenridge mentioned, since we did approve this, do we want to set our standing committees?
Chairman Burrows, I have a question about this.
Okay.
I'm curious because what we choose to do here affects other people that are outside the commission. And I'm curious how that takes place. How do the other people get drawn into these subcommittees that are not members of the commission?
Okay, clearly we would not assign those staff personnel. They would come from their departments, their individual departments, coordinated by, I'm sorry,
Well,
Jack, what's your last name? Yes, what he said. And working with Mr. Breckenridge.
They're not just city employees, my understanding. There's also other parties. Let me scroll to it.
Okay, presumably, Mr. Breckenridge would locate and encourage participation in that area. Mr. Breckenridge.
Mr. Chair, yes, I do. I understand where the commissioner is coming from, and just giving an example under the Events and Promotion Committee, where it says one or two stakeholders. If we do have an event or promotion that is coming from outside the typical airport community, and they wish to hold an event at the airport, that's when those individuals will be a part of the committee to represent their side in the coordination or collaboration of the event.
Okay.
So if I understand you correctly, those two stakeholders could be changing periodically because it's a different event.
Yes, sir, that is true.
I question, do we actually need all three of these commissions? Or could they be addressed when the need comes up?
In my opinion, Commissioner, at least the first two standing committees appear to be all city staff. And I think it would make sense to make that a standing committee with assigned personnel. As far as the events go, I think it would streamline things if we did have two of our commissioners or airport staff, airport industrial staff, 2 of our commissioners, and 1 or 2 stakeholders that could be named at the time an event came up.
Mr. Chair, one recommendation that staff is making is for these subcommittees, instead of hosting a subcommittee or hosting each subcommittee every month, we do it where each committee gets together and meets about once a quarter. So one month you'll have one committee, next month you'll have another, and next month you have another. That will allow these events to properly be collaborated, events to be organized, and everybody to meet and get together at least once a quarter, and not feel like it's unnecessary to meet everybody once a month.
Okay. So what's the desire of the commissioners? Do we want to study these positions and determine what commissioners should be assigned to it or volunteer for it? Or do we want to try to do that today? Okay, seeing a lack of enthusiasm, I would propose that we table this until our next meeting, at which time we will come back with suggestions for at least the commissioners and what committees, standing committees, they would be willing to serve on. Any further discussion on that?
I think tabling it's a good idea.
All right. Was that a motion, Commissioner?
Sure. I move that we table this till the next meeting.
Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Gutierrez. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, tabled until next meeting. All right. Let's go on to new business. FBO ownership change. We have a representative here. Oh, and Dave is online, Dane Bixler. Did you want to start, or did Dave want to start?
Hey, Pat, can you go ahead?
Yes. Thanks for letting us come up here today, gentlemen. My name is Pat Connell. I'm the general manager of Arizona Aircraft Services. We took over on March 10th. We have I don't really have a visual presentation, but I'll tell you who we are and what we're doing. We have 9 employees already, 4 A&P mechanics, 2 unlicensed, 2 office staff and myself. Our lobby is now open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Wow.
Yeah. We're working to have enough staff to be open 7 days a week. We're on call 7 days a week. We're trying to change the atmosphere. We're trying to make Kingman a place people want to come. That's our goal. I know Dave and myself have been in aviation a long, long time, like a lot of people in this room and a lot of people at the airport that have the best interest of this airport at heart. We've had a meeting with the EAA folks, and we're going to be doing a little gathering on June 5th. The military is reinterested in us. We've had an increase in helicopter traffic. We've got some Apaches coming in June and in July, and we got 7 Blackhawks coming in at one time in June. So we're trying to rekindle that, and we want to be a good neighbor. We want to be a good tenant. We want to work with everyone here and at the airport to do what we can to help this airport and the city grow. It's our goal, it's our function, and it's what we need to do because we're the FBO at the airport. So I will devote all of my energy to that, and I'll work with anyone here or at the airport that would like to promote any activity out there, be it a flying breakfast or an air show or school children coming out for a tour. We welcome all of that. And we hope it can increase and we can really expand our presence in the community. So, my background is I grew up at an airport in Iowa. I've been doing this since I was about 13 years old. It's all I know how to do, and some days I don't know how to do it very well, but we try anyway. It's the best job I've ever had in my life, working around airplanes, and I'm really glad to be back in general aviation at the twilight of my career. So I hope to make the most of it, and please feel free to stop out anytime. I want to add too that our new hours of operation during the week are 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. and I stay at the house out there, and I answer the door all the time, and I answer my phone 24 hours a day. I've fixed airplanes in the evening, I've fixed them on the weekend. It just doesn't matter, it's what you do. So we hope to be a good face for the community and for the other tenants on the airport and for everyone in town. So again, we're happy to be here, and we really, really, really want to be a good part of this community. Dave, is there anything you want to add?
No, Pat, thank you. I'm not sure if you guys can hear us, but we truly look forward to representing Arizona Aircraft Services on your airport, and we look forward to a lot of good things coming. We've got a lot of good feedback from people, knowing that Pat and myself are going to put do everything in our power to rejuvenate the GA aviation on the airport, and we're all about customer service and doing what Pat and myself like to do, which is aviation. Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. Pat, just one quick question. Do you anticipating having a crew car from the FBO?
We already have one.
You do?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Trying to get a better one.
Well, I've had some pretty rough ones, so anything that gets us into town and back is great. That's awesome.
Well, we had a day where our crew car was out, my truck was out, and my wife's car was out all at the same time.
Wow.
So,
That's customer service right there.
I mean, we all know aviation is a small community. General aviation is no different than corporate aviation than the airlines. You live and die on your reputation. So, we choose to live.
We're glad to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anything?
Any questions?
Yeah, I gotta say, I had the opportunity to make a couple purchases from Arizona Aircraft, and they've always been very polite, very friendly, very helpful. And when we get to commissioner statements, I'll elaborate on some more.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, next up is the Airport and Industrial Park mission statement. About a year and a half ago, the Airport Commission set to establishing a mission statement for our commission, but now that we have merged in and included the industrial park, it's probably fitting that we update that to fit the mission of both the airport side as well as the industrial park side. So I believe the commission needs to establish a subcommittee to address this, look at the one that we recently adopted last year, and fold in the interest and focus of the industrial park. Does anybody have any comments on that? Deafening silence. Do we need to do a mission statement for the combined commission?
Chairman Burrows.
Hey.
Commissioner
Or
Gerlach.
Tim.
Commissioner Gerlach?
Yeah, I believe there should be at least a modification to the mission statement. I need to see the old one that we agreed to, but I think it's fitting to do that.
Okay. Commissioner Gaines?
I was just going to say that is, we need at least a minor modification. And I'm glad to be on or have it folded in. It's going to be interesting, and I can't wait to see some of the growth and changes that go on in the new, hopefully the new land release, and it will be interesting to see if we can have some more input, some other people joining the commission with some more industrial park experience. That would be helpful as well.
Okay, so are you suggesting we hold off on it?
No. I just like what Tim also mentioned, having to see the old mission statement. I suppose that would be helpful as well. I personally did not review it before this meeting, but it does need to be modified.
Okay, I will be glad to see that that is sent out to all the commissioners. Do we have any volunteers to be on a committee? 2 or 3 would suffice. Okay, Commissioner Lorimer. Anybody else? All right, I will assist Commissioner Lorimer if that's the wishes of the commission. All right. Any further discussion on this? All right, we'll send this out, and if anybody, after reviewing the existing mission statement, if you have any ideas or suggestions for verbiage or focus, send it to myself or Commissioner Lorimer, and we'll get together and see if we can put something together. Anything else? All right, we will continue on. Any other new business? Seeing none, we'll go on to announcement by commissioners. And we will start with Commissioner Stutzman.
No announcements. I do want to welcome Manager Breckenridge. I met him this morning, and just want to say welcome to Kingman.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Stutzman.
All right, Mr. Lorimer, any announcements? All right. Commissioner Gutierrez, any announcements?
No, sir.
All right. Commissioner Gerlach.
I'm just going to reiterate that the Aviation Heritage group is looking at putting on a fly-in in October, and we'll be meeting with the FBO manager and other parties. And if anybody's interested in helping out with that, to contact me.
All right. Did you say the date of that?
October 9.
October 9. All right. We're looking forward to that fly-in, October 9, for that Airfest. All right. Commissioner Gaines.
I'd like to again welcome Manager Breckenridge and state again that we have a little bit more, some glider activity happening at the airport, and some more will be increased next month. Nothing commercial at this point, but we'll kind of let the commission know if they want to come out and see some of the activity and how it works, that kind of thing.
That'd be awesome. It's wonderful to bring that type of flying to the airport. So,
yep.
Commissioner Amspoker.
Yes, we are having a Young Eagles rally on the 5th of June. It's going to be taking place at Arizona Aircraft. They were kind enough to offer us space to use, and we took them up on that. So on June 5th, hopefully there'll be lots of kids from the city of Kingman and surrounding areas coming to learn more about aviation. And I believe some of our commissioners will be flying.
I think some are. Providing the wind doesn't blow.
Yeah.
Wind in Kingman, who could imagine?
Yeah.
All right. And I don't have any announcements for today. So with that, I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
I can make a motion to adjourn.
All right, Commissioner Gaines moves to adjourn. Is there a second?
I will second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Stutzman. You guys are too slow on the button. All right. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? We are adjourned.